What is going on, Pats Nation? You guys already know who it is. Patriots Global here, back with another video. And in this one, I want to talk about my favorite prospects here that are left on the board for New England Patriots heading into day two. Now, day two, we all know that is going to be rounds 2 and 3. And then day 3 is going to be rounds 4 to 7. So the New England Patriots historically over the last, I want to say 3 to 5 years, leaning more towards 3 to 4 years. I don't have the exact years pulled up in front of me. They've traded up into the second round. The most prolific one that we remember is Christian Barmore. Panned out very well for the Patriots. A first round projected defensive tackle that dropped to the second. New England trades up a couple spots there into the second in order to acquire him. Even last year, trading up into the second to draft Tyquan Thornton. This is something that they're going to do and something that makes so much sense. Of course, a lot of players still left on the board. If we're going to go to history, we should probably expect them to trade up into the second, especially, excuse me, after they acquired another 4th round pick here, which now leaves them at 4 4th round picks. Makes too much sense for them to have the capital to trade up into the second. Now, before we hop into these players that I do like for the Patriots, I do want to kind of talk about where's a realistic spot maybe that I think that they could trade up to. So I don't think they're just going to trade, a high end in the first. I don't think they're going to go to 32 or 33. I think that's too high for them. But maybe they trade to 36 with the Rams, who could look to compile up some extra draft picks. If not, I think 38 could be an excellent spot for New England. That's going to be the Raiders with Josh McDaniels. That's an excellent spot that they can move with. There's some familiarity there, obviously. So to me, 30, it's probably that hot spot that they look to try to trade up into the second. So, like I said, guys, there is a lot of prospects that fell into the second round that I really like for the Patriots. There's no specific order that ultimately I have these guys in. Excuse my cough here. But I want to start off here with a guy that I think New England could very much be interested in, despite going Christian Gonzalez in the first round. And that is going to be Brian Branch out of Alabama. You know, they love their Alabama players. You know, they're going to get at least one player from Alabama. And they might say Patriots global. I think with Christian Gonzalez, pretty much solidifies that secondary. And while we definitely have pieces, it solidifies the cornerback group. There is still question marks at safety. And there's question marks at safety, especially in the next couple of years. This absolutely solidifies New England's secondary. You have your future at corner, you have your future safety now, and you don't got to worry about your secondary for the next few years. Brian Branch, a guy that was expected to be a first round pick here, drops to the second, no safeties go, and the Patriots are at a position where they could grab the best safety in the class, not in the first round, but in the second, just by trading up a little bit. And now you got the best safety in the class and arguably the best cornerback in the class. And that is how you solidify this defense. Our ability to get to the quarterback, our pass rush, is going to be elite next year. What's it going to be like in 2024 when Uche leaves? What's it going to be like in a couple years when Barmore's in contract year and Matthew Judon's contract is up? That's for debate. But at least for 2023, our front seven with our defensive line playing in the trenches is going to be absolutely spectacular. And now that we have the secondary to be able to match up against it, you're looking at potentially the best defense in the entire National Football League, as long as the Patriots can stay healthy. So I think that there's a real world in which they are very much interested in Brian Branch. Obviously, guys like Jordan Battle are somebody that you could still have on the board. Maybe he falls a little bit to Skinner, somebody in the later rounds, but he's dealt with injuries. You're probably not looking at him playing this year. This is a day one impact for the Patriots with Brian Branch. They need that Devin McCourty replacement still. AP is obviously kind of on that last leg at this point. 1 to 2 years max is what I'm giving him before he decides to retire. Kyle Duggar in contract year. Safety is a much bigger need for the Patriots than a lot of people realize. And even if Jalen Mills switches to safety and plays a rover role for the Patriots this year, he is still under a 1-year contract. He's in contract year essentially after that restructured deal. But Brian Branch, a guy who I think makes a lot of sense for them excellent in coverage. He has probably the most versatility out of any safety here. He's able to play at outside corner. He's able to play in the slot. He's able to play in box, free safety, strong safety. So a lot of different positional versatility that you can play with him, whether you want to stick him at free safety and take over for Devin McCourty's role, or whether you want to put him at that rover role, have him play several different positions. He's a guy that I said day one can be an impact player, because whether you want him to play free safety, whether you want him to play in the box, whether you want him to play hybrid linebacker, cornerback, slot, he can do it at every position, and that's what makes him a day one impact player. I think the Patriots also value guys who are able to stop the run. I think we saw that here with Christian Gonzalez. Not only was he a great coverage cornerback, but he's also elite at stopping the run. Look at his highlights. Look at his tackling ability, the plays he's made in the run game. Patriots are not only getting a coverage guy with him, but an elite run stopper also. They can get another guy here in that same category as Brian Branch. So a guy that I would really like for them to trade up for potentially, but you could also say Patriots Global. They just went defense, man. They got to upgrade here on offense, and I would not disagree with you whatsoever. So maybe they look to trade up, and maybe they try to go with the offense here. And a pick that I could see making some sense, Dawand Jones, tackle out of Ohio State. Now, the one thing here that I feel like makes this a little less likely is that the Patriots just never draft out of Ohio State. Such great players coming out of Ohio State. Just one of those schools Belichick never goes after. It's kind of like KJ Henry, defensive end that I like from Clemson. Like him a lot, but the Patriots never drafted from Clemson under Bill Belichick, which makes that a lot less likely, because you have to look at trends with coaches and teams in terms of colleges and what they do during the draft. It's very important. So maybe Dawand Jones is a little less likely, but this is a guy that can make the world of difference. You guys know that me personally, I love the Patriots going left tackle rather than right tackle. And you can find a serviceable right tackle a lot easier than you can a left tackle. You're also going to pay a right tackle a lot less money than you're going to play a left tackle, essentially. So if you can get a left tackle for the next 4 or 5 years at minimum, I think it's going to save the team a lot of money versus having to go, let's say, in free agency or trade for a guy. It's going to cost a lot more, whether that's in return of draft capital or it's just in terms of cap space. So Dawand Jones doesn't play left, but he does play right. Obviously a massive human, got a lot of hype after, the combine and even a little bit before the combine with his arm span. Just a guy that can essentially stop a defensive lineman before he even gets off of his stance because of just how large his arms are. Not even his arms, just him in general at 6'8", 374 pounds. This dude is an absolute monster. Remember when we had Trent Brown over at left tackle, and even recent history, we had him over at right tackle? That's exactly what you're essentially getting here with Dawand Jones here. No versatility there, only playing at right tackle. Obviously a lot of size. Has to work on his vertical sets a little bit. I do have some question marks on, is he too big? And is that going to be a concern? But the Patriots need, I think, some true future at tackle, whether it's left tackle, whether it's right tackle. They need some future stability there. They even need some stability there right now. I think they can get past this year with the offensive line they have, especially at offensive tackle. But after this year, you have Riley Reiff, who's out of contract, Yanni Kajust, out of contract, Trent Brown, out of contract, and you don't want Calvin Anderson being your only starting tackle under contract. So I do think that the Patriots do still need to go tackle. They didn't go tackle there in the first. They had the ability to go for Broderick Jones and decided not to. They could have traded up for a tackle, decided not to. So getting some long-term stability there, whether it's at left tackle, right tackle, getting your next future guy, I think is very, very important in this draft still. So Dawand Jones, another guy that I do really like for the Patriots. Now, I talked about this next guy a little bit in my live stream, and it is another offensive player because ultimately I think they should go offense here. Darnell Washington. And you could say Michael Mayer's on the board. They should go with him. And I wouldn't tell you you're wrong. Michael Mayer is going to give you a better, well-rounded tight end, a guy who can contribute in the receiving game, a guy who can contribute as a blocker. But let's say the Patriots don't go tackle in the second round. You can kind of kill two birds with one stone here with Darnell Washington because he does two things very well, two things the Patriots need very much. One, a blocking tight end. He is a better blocking tight end than a lot of these offensive linemen are in run blocking. He had a run blocking grade this past year of 81.3. Absolutely absurd, especially for a guy that's a tight end and not an offensive lineman. Obviously, he's going to be somebody who lines up more on the right side, but you need help. You need help on that offensive line, whether it's Trent Brown or Riley Reef there on the right side, or Calvin Anderson, wherever they decide to go with the offensive line. Getting a guy who can block and continue to help this run game, continue to get some protection from Mac Jones is going to be super, super important for this team. I believe that the offense starts with the O-line. It doesn't start with quarterback, it doesn't start with receivers, it doesn't start with running back. It starts with your offensive line. That is literally the mold to your offense. That's what's going to get everything started, whether it's the run game you're looking to acquire first or whether it is a pass first team that you're looking to become. So not only does he give you that blocking that you need, but he's also going to give you a little bit of receiving ability. Now, he's not going to give you a whole lot. I think that he's going to give you 400 or 500 yards max a season. He's not going to be an 800, 1,000-yard receiver. He doesn't have the speed for it. He can break tackles. He can have guys bounce off of him, but only pick up a few extra yards because he is not fast at all. What I really like about him, though, is that potential in the red zone. Patriots have struggled big time in the red zone, especially last year. They need to start capitalizing once they reach the red zone. They get down there and it's field goal. They get down there and it's 3 and out. They need to start capitalizing on that. A way to do that is contested catches. Just launch the ball up to a guy. We had Devontae Parker and we constantly tried doing it with him, and teams were very sensible in terms of they knew what the Patriots were going to do. You're going to loft the ball up. There's only one guy you're going to loft the ball up to is Devontae Parker. So let's put our best cornerback on him. Let's double team him. And that's why a lot of times Mac Jones throwing to Devontae Parker was an interception because teams knew exactly what they were doing. Get Darnell Washington in here sitting at, pull up that real quick, 6'6", 264 pounds in the end zone. Him and Hunter Henry on the field at the same time. I think this dude would be an absolute monster. Helps you out in terms of blocking, helps you out in terms of putting points up on the board in the red zone. And I think that he would make a day one impact. Maybe not a bunch of sexy, flashy plays or a ton of yardage, but he would 100% make an impact and could be a guy the Patriots look to trade up for in the second round. He brings something the Patriots also don't have, a blocking tight end. So next up here, we're going to move to defense a little bit, bring you guys some versatility here. And it's going to be a defensive end in B.J. Ojulari. This is a guy that I actually really like as I look for my notes on him. A guy that I really like and a guy that I think fits the mold for the Patriots. Now, he's projected to be a second-round pick. He's projected to go mid-second round to back end of the second round, but edge rushers were flying off the board in round one, so he could go higher, and it wouldn't surprise me. This is the type of guy where I think he's a little bit better at stopping the run than Lucas Van Ness, but he's mainly a pass rusher. This is your replacement for Josh Uche. If they get B.J. Ojulari, it is to replace Josh Uche. This dude is an absolute monster in terms of getting to the quarterback, collapsing pockets, and he doesn't just apply pressure. He puts up statistics on the board. Also coming from LSU, he fits the mold of the Patriots getting an edge rusher from a high-end college. Said it multiple times. I'll say it again. They like their edge rushers coming from a top-end school with top-end competition because edge rusher is one of the positions where, hey, when you make that transition to the NFL, they want to know that you're going to be able to keep up, not just coming from a small school and you went up against, D2 offensive tackles and D2 quarterbacks who are seventh-round picks. They want to know that you can do it at a high level, transitioning to the National Football League, and B.J. Ojulari definitely fits that. A 70.9 overall run blocking grade, but only a 4.5% run stop rate. That is a little bit below average there. Not crazy below average, but definitely a bit below average. His pass rush win rate, 18.9%. Not in the 20 marks like we talked about with some of these guys that went in the first, but again, you're talking mid to late second round pick here. So still makes sense. But in terms of statistics this past year with LSU, he was able to record 9 sacks this past year, 8 sacks the year before, 4 in 2020. He put up 26 hurries this past year, 33 hurries in 2021, 14 quarterback hits this year, and 13 quarterback hits last year. The Patriots do need edge rusher at some point. And if they really are looking at moving on from Josh Uche and they really think that this is a guy they're going to move on from, you need to get your edge rusher in there now because edge rushers don't seem to pan out for the Patriots year one. It usually takes them a couple of years. So get BJ Ojolari in the building now. Could definitely be very serviceable for the Patriots. And also, at least for this year, whether you're going to make him a starter or not, gives you depth behind Matthew Judon, who does get injured from time to time, and of course Josh Uche, if one, he leaves, but two, he cannot keep up the spectacular season that he had in 2022. Now, next up here, I'm going to switch back to offense because, like I said, I do think that this is going to be an offensive pick. And it's going to be offensive tackle again, just because, like I said, I do think that they need to go offensive tackle. And it is going to be probably my favorite tackle left on the board, and that is going to be Blake Freeland. Now, Blake Freeland, coming from BYU, I've heard some good connections related back to him and the Patriots. I do think that there's real potential here for the Patriots and Blake Freeland. He's probably going to be a back-end second-round pick at the earliest, but more likely going to be about a third pick. I don't see him dropping to the fourth with how tackles were flying off the board, but there is a world maybe in which he could. Wouldn't necessarily surprise me. But I'm going to say he's probably going to end up being a third round pick. This dude has gotten better and better every single year in college. This past year had a career year, put up an overall grade of 90.9. A guy who is going to be able to be a blocker here for Mac Jones. And I like that he brings a little bit of versatility. In 2020, he actually was a full-time starter at right tackle, 450 snaps there. But then the last 2 years took snaps at left tackle. And again, that's where he got better. He was better at left tackle than right tackle, but still very good at right tackle. So it brings position versatility, which the Patriots were really like. 875 snaps at left tackle in 2021, and then 860 in 2022. Mainly going to be a pass blocker with a 90.7 overall pass blocking grade, with a run blocking grade of 87.3, a guy who can do it all for you on the left side. Me personally, when it comes to the left tackle, protecting your quarterback's blind side, I look for a guy who's going to be better at pass blocking more than he is run blocking, because I'm more concerned about giving my quarterback more time and keeping him injury free. I think Blake Freeland would absolutely give the Patriots that. Throughout his 3 years as a starter for BYU at the tackle position, and I just listed the amount of snaps he's played in from 2020 to 2022, he has allowed only 1 sack. He's allowed 1 sack. He only allowed 3 hits this past year, with a total of 7 quarterback hits throughout that 3-year college tenure, and only allowed 4 hurries this past year also. This dude is an absolute beast. I know he hasn't necessarily gone up against the craziest of competition, but I do still think that there's something to say there with these statistics. And he's really just a guy that I like. So Blake Freeland, a guy hopefully that they can land. But my last guy that I'm going to have on here, and you guys are going to like this. Everyone thinks I hate wide receivers, but I don't. Just didn't necessarily want one in the first unless it was JSN. But I have a guy, and it isn't who you're thinking. All right. I don't think they should go receiver in the second. I don't think they will go receiver in the second. Jonathan Mingo. Jonathan Mingo from Mississippi. Ole Miss, baby. They have popped out some good wide receivers, some real good wide receivers. DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, some really great guys have gone out of there. Jonathan Mingo could go a little sooner just because Jonathan Mingo fits a mold that there's not a lot of receivers at this point that fit. There's a lot of slot guys. There's a lot of smaller guys. Jonathan Mingo is a true X. He's a true outside guy. Not a lot of those left in the draft. 6'2", 220 pounds. If the Patriots are going to draft a guy, this is the exact type of mold they need to go with. They don't need a smaller guy. They don't need a slot guy. They need an X. And they have Devontae Parker right now, but we saw what it was like when they didn't have Devontae Parker. Parker deals with injuries every single year. Unfortunately, it's just something that comes with him. We saw that when we have an actual X, we have an actual 50-50 contested catch guy on the outside that can outbody defensive backs, what that can do for Mac Jones and just do for a young quarterback in general, especially when they're under pressure. Now, Jonathan Mingo, probably a 3rd to 4th round pick. I know PFF has him with an average draft projection of 77 and ranked at 83rd. So again, not talking about the second, probably looking more so late third, early fourth, but a guy that I really like. His contested catch rate isn't as high as you would like, 41.2%, but not terrible. I'm more concerned about his drop rate. Drop rate at 7.3% is not good. You're reaching almost that 10% mark. I think that's an issue. But again, I feel like once you reach the fourth round, if they can get him there, you're kind of taking a flyer on a guy. You're not necessarily asking him to do a whole lot, but if he's able to become something, then great. So Jonathan Mingo, definitely one of my favorite guys in terms of what the Patriots could still get from a wide receiver. It wouldn't surprise me if they don't go wide receiver at all, but if they do, Jonathan Mingo, one of my favorite guys left. There are a couple of other guys I wouldn't mind from the wide receiver position. Marvin Mims, Rashee Rice, a couple of other guys that I wouldn't mind whatsoever also. But what are your guys' thoughts on day 2 here for the New England Patriots? Rounds 2 and 3 today. These are a couple of guys that I would like to see them target today. These are my favorite guys. There's obviously a couple of other guys too that I would like to see them target. Didn't want to make this too long, so I wanted to keep it short and simple and kind of really show you guys the guys that I have at top of my draft board for the Patriots today. So who are your guys, though? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to leave a big like on this video. And of course, I will have you guys covered for everything involving the New England Patriots draft, all the picks they make. Without further ado, I appreciate you guys for watching. Enjoy today's draft. And never forget, go Pats.